Good evening, everyone. It is 7:10, and we are going to start our meeting. There is nothing to report out of closed session. Nathan, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you. Next, we have approval of minutes for August 12th, 25, June 24, 25, May 13th, 25, February 25, 25, October 22, 24, and August 27, 24. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve all.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is Joe coming on or no?
I'm on.
So we're doing roll call then?
Okay. Governing Board Member Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Governing Board Member Octavia Thus, Governing Board Member Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Governing Board Member Dan Jeffries,
Yes.
and Governing Board Member Joe Radaba.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Next, we have Superintendent's Report. Wendy?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm so happy to report that La Cañada Unified School District has enjoyed a very successful opening of the 2025-2026 school year. Tonight, I wanted to briefly share some enrollment and permit updates, as well as just a few general announcements related to the opening of the school year. As you may know from my report earlier this month, our targeted enrollment for this school year, it was 4,000. As we tracked our enrollment over the summer, our high water mark projection had us anticipating 4,038 students. Since that time, however, we've had a few no-shows, a couple of withdrawals, and families with changing life circumstances. So currently, after 9 days of instruction, LCUSD's total enrollment count is at 3,993, with two additional students scheduled to enroll, which will bring our number to 3,995. But positive news, we had a student enroll at the district today, and that was unanticipated. So I remain hopeful that we will reach our target goal of 4,000 with four or five students trickling in over the next couple of weeks. And all of that just needs to happen before our P1 reporting date. Additionally, it's important to just note that the district receives funding ADA for students who are part of LCUSD but enrolled in non-public schools throughout based on their individual education plan. So we currently have 8 of those students, placing our total ADA at 4,003. So we're right there in the ballpark, and we'll just see how things just settle in over the next couple of weeks. In terms of our permit student numbers, we currently have 294 Sagebrush students who will become residents when the territory transfers later in the school year. 68 students are on grandparent legacy permits, and 187 LCUSD employee students are enrolled in our district. The rest of our permit students are largely Allen Bill employment-related permits, and of those, 312 students are enrolled via their parent or guardian's employment at JPL. Our total student permit number is right at the district-wide cap that was set by the governing board, which is at 15%. The number of permit students across the district in any grade level ranges from between 18 to 25%, again, at or below the governing board established cap. Keeping our enrollment at these numbers is important for several reasons, but the most significant reason is that it allows us the optimum size to operate and offer the full range of programs essential to a high-performing district, whether that is the wide variety of AP courses or our electives or the full array of athletic teams that we host, the extensive club offerings, or any of the many other opportunities within the high school master schedule. Enrollment at the 4,000 mark also helps us reach strategic efficiencies with our budget and with our funding levels. So that's the picture, the snapshot for enrollment and permits this year. All very good news, all within the caps, and all allowing us to operate right where we had intended for programmatic and budgetary purposes. Also this year, so far, we have had 2 wonderfully successful back-to-school nights, one at 7-8 last week and one at 9-12. We look forward to welcoming our first, third, and fifth grade parents at our elementary schools tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and our second, fourth, and sixth grade parents on Thursday evening. We also look forward to heading into the long Labor Day weekend, which everybody's looking forward to and will enjoy. But coming back after that weekend, we're going to celebrate on Friday, September 5th at 5 o'clock, the LCHS 712 tailgate. And so we hope people will come out and enjoy that with us. Finally, a quick update on the high school's performance in the U.S. News and World Report rankings. So I never like to make a mistake. And I did a little bit of jumping the gun and preparing my announcement to families. And what I wrote off was based on the preliminary report from U.S. News that was sent out to superintendents across the nation. The final rankings, however, those results were published last Tuesday on the 19th. And we had some improved news with the final reporting. So nationwide, our high school was number 180, and that was up from the 210 ranking that I posted. In California, our high school was number 20, up from the 25th ranking that I referenced. We were still number 8 in the LA metro area as a high school, but we did a little digging, and the top 7 ahead of us are high schools based on applications or selective criteria. And so by deduction, that would make LCHS, according to U.S. News and World Report, the number 1 open enrollment comprehensive public high school in the LA metro area. So that was very exciting. We know that that's just, yes. Like I said before, we know that's just one measure, and we're very committed to a cycle of continuous improvement, but it was a pretty celebratory way to open up the school year. And I hadn't reported on, but U.S. News and World Report ranked us 167 in STEM high schools across the country. So that was pretty cool too. I wanted to thank parent Justin Liu from LCE, who did a little deep digging. He was checking out his old high school, and he was the one that found that I hadn't taken the corrections into place. So I love it when our parents are proactive and always checking on what's correct and getting out the right report. Anyway, that's my news for tonight, and we're excited to be back, and we look forward to a fabulous ongoing 25-26 school year to complement the really positive start that we've had so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. For my president's report, I would like to introduce Kathleen Cross, the Vice President of the Glendale Unified School District Board of Education. She has a background as a social worker and operations, and she brings with her both expertise and heart to her role as a school board member. She is also our district's California School Board Association delegate. The CSBA delegate helps set the policy direction for CSBA by implementing the association's mission to set the agenda for public schools and students of California. Welcome, Kat.
Thank you so much for having me. And first, welcome back to school, everybody. Congratulations on a great first start. We're on the same place. We just started. It is, it's exhausting. Let's be real. Getting used to the change of routine and going back to school. It's a lot. So I encourage your families to the same thing that I encouraged our families. Take it slow. Take a breath. It's okay. Drop them off a little bit slower. It is all right. We will get through these first few weeks and we will thrive because of it. So congratulations. Like you said, I am Kat Cross. I serve as the Vice President of the Glendale Unified District Board of Education. I'm honored to be here to talk to you as a representative on your CSBA and kind of share with you some events that are coming up and opportunities to advocate for our students and our families. I'm a really firm believer in you don't know what you don't know. And so the best way to find out what you don't know is to go to places, to learn about things, to be open to what else is out there. I say that to our students. I say that to my children, and I say that to my colleagues. The first thing that I wanted to speak about is CSBA is hosting an education workforce housing boot camp. So this is a one-day in-person training, and it's designed for board members, also superintendents, because I know that you want to do more, as well as any staff member and administrator, senior level administrators who are interested in workforce housing. So the idea is you haven't taken your first steps yet and you want to look more into it. During the boot camp, participants will walk through 7 phases of workforce housing development and really complete hands-on exercises to imagine what housing could look like in this community, in your community. As we know, workforce housing is a long-term solution for both fiscal health and staff retention, which board members seem to really love, fiscal health and staff retention. So those are good things. It provides much more affordable local housing and reduces turnover in our staff, and that saves money and energy. Running the business, the best thing I can do is have happy employees. On the school board, the best thing that we can do is be a part of that too, is really, having a secure environment. And this is an opportunity for us to kind of look at different ways that we could offer that. So CSBA invites you guys to attend and look at that. It's going to be October 24th from 9 to 4. Like I said, it's a one-day boot camp. And registration closes October 17th. So you have some time to focus. Like I said, you can breathe, we can take it slowly, and then you can register. It'd be a great event. The second event that I wanted to talk to you about was Coast to Coast. And I don't know if your school board has sent anyone to Coast in the past. I have not had the opportunity to go yet. I am hoping to go in the next year or two. It is a national gathering that brings together school board members and education advocates from across the entire country to share their strategies and elevate our voices at the federal level. I have a child right now that lives in a different state, and to understand the impacts of, the differences in states and how they handle things, I think it's incredibly interesting and eye-opening. It gives us an opportunity to learn what's working. And it also gives us the opportunity to say, wow, I don't want to do that. So there's both. A colleague of mine who recently attended the Coast to Coast shared that it was a powerful opportunity for her to advocate for public education and for California schools in Washington, D.C. And the attendees were able to meet directly with Congresswoman Laura Friedman, Judy Chu, and bring forward stories from our district. I think it's really important that we represent our children and our families, our teachers. No one can do it better than the people who live in those communities. It's critical in this moment with the volatility in federal funding to really explain what that means and make it real and tangible. And those stories, those experiences that we can share, that's how we can do that. It makes a huge difference. So together, these two opportunities, the Workforce Housing Boot Camp and then the Coast to Coast, really equip us. They build our network. They help us have actionable next steps, and they strengthen all of our schools. And being in a community together, we're right next door. As we strengthen all of our schools, all of our children, all of our families, all of our employees are better for it. So I just want to remind you about those two events. And if you have any more questions about them, don't ask me right now, because this is not the, if you have any more questions about them, please feel free to ask. And you can always email me as well. I'm happy to share more information. And I just appreciate the opportunity and everything that you guys are doing in your district and being a partner in kind of bringing forward great education in California. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have our Assistant Soup of Technology board.
Thanks so much. I have two updates tonight for you about our work around AI. One about our teacher training before school started, and some updates around the training we're doing for students. So first, at our teacher training sessions before school started, we offered some elective-like talks for teachers to choose after they were in the required morning sessions. And some of the offerings were how students learn, tech tools for teachers around AI, and we had some pretty packed rooms. It was pretty great to see all the teachers. So we opened the session with going over our staff guidelines about using AI, just the things you need to generally remember to make sure everybody has the same understanding of potential biases, hallucinations, impacts of using AI, things like that. So then we looked at all of our ed tech tools that over the last couple of years have just embedded AI into those tools. So the approach was, can we take something teachers already know and are comfortable with and just show them the AI upgrade? So it didn't feel like one more thing. And we also spent the year really looking at our ed tech tools and paring down those offerings, because we had acquired a lot during COVID, and we looked at usage, cost, all of those things, and started to cut down some of those expenses. So we focused on 4 tools at the training, and the teachers got to play with them. And we've had some, I would say, low to mid-level excitement around them. Everybody's still being cautious, but there is some good enthusiasm around it. So for this, we're really showing the teachers that there are some great upgrades and embedded features in the tools that we already have. And we want to keep learning and growing. And my message for anybody around AI is just always hold that concept of wonder and terror at the same time. If you ever feel like this is the best thing ever, be worried. If you ever feel like this is the end of the world, be worried. It's both at the same time. And so I think the teachers had a good time. I led 2 sessions on that and doing some follow-ups, which is great. And then second, for the students, this year is the second year that we had the student AI pledge in the student handbook that I know all students read because they signed it. So if not, please go back and look at the student AI pledge. And it's meant to be just an awareness that we know students are using these tools, but we also can't get to everyone and train them the way that we want to initially. But we want to make sure at least the cautions are there and they have an understanding of some of the things that we're worried about. So the AI pledge this year was updated to include 2 new facets. It had the notes about privacy and data privacy and making sure you're not sharing too much information. We had the notes about potential bias, hallucinations, the basics that we feel like everybody knows. 2 things that we added this year that I think one came from student voice. They were really curious about the environmental impact around using AI. So we put that in the pledge. Like when you're using these tools, just make a decision. Do you need to use AI to do something that you would normally do with Google? Because that has a greater environmental impact. And just, again, consciously just know that exists. Whether you make a change or not, it's just something to be aware of. So we added that. And then we added a piece about critical thinking. There's been some amazing research coming out of Switzerland. MIT had a big release earlier this year, and China and Pakistan had similar studies where they've actually linked they believe the loss of critical thinking skills with overuse of AI, and specifically among young adults. And so again, this is just something where we need our students to be aware of this research and potential impact and make that choice. If you're offloading to something to AI, is that a skill that we don't want to lose? And it's just mindfulness. We need to be aware of that. So our approach around AI has always been education first, and we want to continue that. So we will this year, we've kind of started the work, but continue really thinking about what are those targeted lessons we need for all students to experience K-12 around technology, and AI naturally fits in there. We also want students to be informed consumers so they understand the mechanics behind the tools so they can make those good choices. And we want to tie a lot of this work to our challenge success work. We want to think deeply about if students are choosing AI tools for shortcuts, are they doing that because A, they're overloaded, B, they're not engaged, C, they're just not connecting with the material? There's always a root cause there. So I think that's part of our work, which is exciting. So really looking at the SPACE framework and the pedagogy that engages component, as well as the authentic assessment. So those are the pieces we're looking at with challenge success. So finally, if you're interested in learning more about the research, I did a memo for one of my classes, and you can read a fascinating 3-page thriller that summarizes the research that I studied this summer. And thank you, and that's my report for this evening.
Thank you, Jamie. Next, we have Octavia Thuss, who's going to introduce our student representative for this year.
Sure. It is my honor to introduce Nathan Cho, our new students school board representative. Nathan enthusiastically engaged with both his school and local community. He was a Chamber of Commerce intern with the Allen Lund Company and named best intern for his cohort. Nathan has given back to his school community as a member of ASB, the president and founder of the LCHS Asian Student Union, marching band, and member of the speech and debate team. Outside of school, Nathan is experienced in harnessing AI, speaking of AI, to analyze the global mental health crisis and assess fire risk in local communities. Nathan will be an exceptional addition to our governing board, and we welcome you very much to the board, and I will be giving you the oath of office.
Thank you so much.
So let's go.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Great.
Yes.
Raise your right hand. I, Nathan Cho,
I, Nathan Cho,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
that I will support and defend
support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of California.
and the Constitution of California,
That I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any
without any mental reservation
purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
And with that, Nathan's going to give his first student representative report.
Thank you so much for that. A lot more than I deserve. Thank you so much.
We have a text script that we prepare, and I didn't get them. Let me check. No, not seeing them. Hold on one sec.
Okay, great.
Jeff, he just shared the slides with media, if you don't mind grabbing them.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here as your student representative. So these are the site-specific district updates from LCUSD. So for Palmcrest Elementary School, we had our new family popsicle on the 9th. We are excited to share that we had a smooth and got it. Thank you so much. And we had a smooth and enthusiastic start to our new school year at PCR. Our PTA welcomed new families at a popsicle party that included student-led campus tours and a chance to connect with one another. Students and families also got to meet our beloved emotional support dog, Koufax, and his human, Ashley, who will continue visiting regularly throughout the year. On Friday, August 22nd, we enjoyed a wonderful back-to-school picnic where families came together to celebrate the beginning of a new year. In the classrooms, students are currently participating in reading and math assessments so we can tailor support and instruction to meet their individual needs. Also, early and late bird scheduling begins on September 2nd, and it was also great meeting our TK and kindergarten families at the back-to-school night before the start of school. And we also look forward to meeting all our families with students in grades 1 through 6 on this September 27th and 28th on their back-to-school nights. La Cañada Elementary began the school year by welcoming its youngest lions at the TK kindergarten back-to-school night. Got it. Thank you. Back to school night, August 7th, families turned out in great numbers, and the school looked excited for the year ahead with its literalist learners. On August 8th, the LCA, PTA, and the new family ice cream social, students and families enjoyed a big recess filled with ice cream, laughter, and fun, a perfect way to kick off the new year together. And also, our community gathered once again on August 22nd for the annual back to school picnic, another wonderful evening of connection and celebration hosted by the PTA. And this week, the school looks forward to welcoming families back to school night, an opportunity to tour the campus, visit classrooms, and meet the teachers who will guide students the year ahead. PCY has only been back in session for a few days, but students and the new principal have been excited to meet their new teachers and settle into the school year. Our first to fourth graders are especially enjoying their brand new classrooms in our new building. Special classes officially begin next Monday, though sixth graders have already started drama with Mr. Adam and Mr. Josh as they prepare for the annual sixth grade play. We are also excited to welcome a new art teacher, Mr. Andrew Beckner, to the specials team, along with new PE aides and Paris, as well as kindergarten teacher, Ms. Barberto, who have joined the PCY family. And also this week, early and late birds are already being assessed, and overall, everyone is happy to be back and enjoying Cougar life. Thank you. On Monday, August 11th, we had over 90% of our seventh graders come out for web orientation run by over 60 eighth graders. It was a great event where students got to lead ice-breaking activities, learn more about 7-8, tour the campus through student-led tours, and so much more. There's shout out not only to our web leaders, but to our teacher web coordinators who put so many hours in. This includes Ms. Dalbeck, Ms. Brasha, Ms. Warner, Ms. Paver, and Mr. Valdez. Our first days of school have gone extremely well. It was so nice to see the return of life on our campus with all our students returning. All went smoothly, and we are excited for what the school year has in store. So according to Mr. Paskowitz, we had an amazing start to Lockett High School, 9th to 12, and according to me as well. Sunday, the 17th, C3 hosted Vanderbilt University Roadshow in the auditorium for the wider SoCal community, and we had a full auditorium. Admissions officer Oppenheimer, yes, real name, came and encouraged us about admission practices, case studies, and financial aid. On the 19th, the athletic parents met with coaches to go over respective sports responsibilities. On the 20th was our back to school night. Parents followed their student schedule and met teachers, learned more about classes, and also more about the teachers. On the 28th was the PTSA Freshman Families Coffee. Parents got to meet other families, PTSA, and get to know the new school. We have a community tailgate to support varsity football before playing Long Beach Gordon. Families will gather outside the football field to play games, enjoy burgers from the original Tommy's Burgers, and a spirit tunnel will be formed by attendees as our team runs through it and onto the football field to kick off the sport and athletic season. The tailgate is a membership event for both organizations, and we invite everyone to join us in supporting these great, important organizations. We also need parent volunteers to make this event a success. Saturday, September 6th, Engineering Club will host the first Global Tech First Challenge for schools from San Diego to Santa Barbara for robotics competition for students in grades 6 through 12, focusing on building and programming robots to compete in alliances in 2-on-2 competition. On the September 13th and 12th, LCHS will be sending a delegation to Stanford University for the Challenge Success Conference, an opportunity to connect with passionate educators from across the country, delve into cutting-edge research, and leave with practical strategies to enhance K-12 student well-being, belonging, and engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nathan. You are welcome to stay for as long as you'd like, but we understand if you need to leave, do homework, but you are welcome to stay for the whole meeting if you would like to, okay? Next we have a review of agenda. Does anyone have anything to change, or we're good? All right, so we're going to the opportunity for the public to address the board on non-agendized items. We have one? Okay, let me read our little spiel here. Now is the beginning of the public's opportunity to address the board, first on non-agendized items, then later on agendized items. To facilitate our goal of community involvement and input, we have two methods of public comment. The first is the traditional method of appearing in person, adding your name to the list, and delivering your comments at the appropriate time on our agenda. The second is to submit written comments electronically via the agenda webpage. Comments submitted electronically will be read, reviewed, and considered by the board, but as noted on the agenda, online public comments will not be read aloud during the meeting. The comments submitted electronically are visible to all members of the public via the district webpage. We do have two asks. First, as a school district, we highly value the privacy and safety of our students, so we ask that you not identify or name them. Second, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less to allow other community members to speak. We hope that our public comments model for our students civil discourse, respectful inquiry, engaged listening, open consideration of multiple perspectives. During our non-agendized items, the Brown Act prohibits the board from responding to or discussing your comments beyond a brief clarification, question, or request to agendize an issue for a future meeting. During agendized items, we are allowed to discuss the issue, and we hope to continue the tradition of respectful dialogue so often found in our board meetings. We ask our audience and speakers to treat one another with dignity, compassion, and respect. With that, we will get the non-agendized item comment here from Mr. Haxton.
David Haxton, district resident. I just came from a meeting at City Hall, which was a town hall about electricity in the city. And as you all know, that starting in October, there's going to be a choice of who you're going to get your electricity generated by. You're still going to have it distributed by Edison, but in October, there'll be a choice. And you also have a choice of what percent of that electricity is renewable. And I asked at this town hall what the choice of JPL and the school district, what choices they had made. And they said they can't tell you because it's customer confidential. So I was planning to come here, but it was on my way. So my question is not just what your choice is, but who's making the choice? Because I haven't seen this on any agenda. Is this a low-level decision being made or just not being made? You're just going with the default? It seems to me that whether the school district is willing to pay 5% more for electricity for 100% clean would be a matter of public interest, and the extra cost. I think those are all things that really should be decided by the governing board and not by one of the people that you've hired. I will note that a little over a year ago, I had suggested to your assistant superintendent for business affairs that they look at changing trash haulers because at least based on residential rates, the trash hauler the district uses is the most expensive. And I've never seen any kind of going out for for bids or anything like that. So it seems that maybe saving money isn't as important as, but here it's not just saving money, but it's how clean the energy the district is using. So I would ask that this matter come to the governing board and not be decided by inaction by staff. Thank you.
Can I
Thank you.
clarify? Just
Sure,
provide
of
some.
course.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Haxton. We've had a couple of governing board members and correspondence with Assistant Superintendent of Business Operations and myself. We are working with the city to gather the details and the information. We don't have all of that detail that we would like yet, but the board has asked us to proactively research it, and it will be an item that comes before the board as soon as we get all of the detail in order to prepare the agenda item.
Can I ask a question just in regards to the trash haul question? Is there anything that we have on hand, just general knowledge as to who we use and why we use them versus perhaps another one?
I can provide you with the information we use for public services. Our prices are different than residential because we have commercial 3-yard bins with them. And we have not gone out for an RFP recently, but that's something we can definitely look into. We do speak with them and the various companies as well, because there's 3 companies allowed in La Cañada.
Are we bound to receive services from union versus non-union labor?
So for trash, we could go with anyone. There's 3 that are licensed within La Cañada, which is rare. I actually worked for a trash company in the past, and normally a city is franchised for just one. And as you know, with trash, now you have 3 days of different pickup and different trash cans and everything else. So it is rare that La Cañada has 3 different trash providers.
That's great. Thank you so much.
They may ask Mr. Haxton a question just in clarification about, you said that residents will have a choice between the Clean Power Alliance and SC or Edison. It's my understanding, and could you clarify if this is true, that if a resident does not take any action, they will be moved over to the Clean Power Alliance, and that they, to stay with Edison, have to take the affirmative action of contacting Edison?
For residential customers, the city, I think about a year ago, maybe it's a little less than a year ago, made a choice of the default is you get 100% clean. And that's for residential customers. I don't believe that that decision had anything to do with commercial, which would be the district or JPL or other businesses. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it was just a residential decision. And the city also decide for itself, which they chose clean. So their buildings and the lights at night and that sort of stuff, street lights are
Yeah.
all.
Thank you. I was asking about residential for the hundreds of people here and all the thousands watching on TV, just in case they had missed that their power company would be switched if they don't do anything.
Right. It starts in October. So if you do nothing, you won't see any change. It's just, if you look closely at your power bill, it's going to say Clean Power Alliance as having generated the power, but you're still going to get a power bill from Edison, and you may not notice any difference.
That is
Just
correct. All the
Point of clarification, I believe that there is an option for residents to drop out of the
Opt out,
CPA.
yes.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So the choices are continue with Edison, which is about 40% clean, or with the Clean Power Alliance, there's 3 choices. They're 100% clean, 50% clean, and 40% clean. And the 100% clean is about 5% more against your total bill, and the 50% clean is about the same as Edison, and 40% clean is about 1% less than Edison. And if you do nothing, you get the 100% clean. So you would have to take action if you want to stay with Edison or one of the other choices. And you're not limited. I mean, anytime you can make a choice. So it's not a one-time opt-out or opt-in. It's you always have a choice.
And you have to contact the CPA, the Consumer Power Alliance, Clean Power Alliance, in order to make the change.
Yeah, on a website, telephone. I think, it's quite a few options. And there's something like 50 cities who receive their power from Clean Power Alliance. Beverly Hills, beach cities, they're all over the place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haxton. Next, we go into item 11, which is public hearing. We have now reached the public hearing portion of tonight's agenda. 11A is the public hearing regarding LCTA negotiations proposal to LCUSD. Dr. Craig, could you give us a background?
Thank you. Before a school district in California begins negotiations with its Teachers or Employees Association, state law requires that both sides' initial proposals be made public and discussed in an open school board meeting. This process is often called sunshining and ensures transparency by giving the community an opportunity to see the priorities and areas of focus that will guide negotiations, as well as a chance to provide input before the formal process begins. So we'd like to ask the board, per LCUSD Board Policy 4143.1 and Government Code Section 3547 to open a public hearing on any public comments for the negotiation proposal from LCTA to LCUSD. And the public is invited to express its comments on the proposal prior to the start of the negotiation season.
With that, the public hearing regarding LCTA negotiation proposal to LCUSD is now open. Are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Being no public comments, I'll now close the public hearing. Next, we will have a public hearing for 11B, which is the LCUSD negotiations proposal to LCTA. Dr. Craddock.
Thank you so much. And conversely, this item is in regards to a public hearing for the negotiations proposal from LCUSD to LCTA. And we didn't similarly invite any public comments on the proposal.
With that, I'll open public hearing for LCUSD negotiation proposals to LCTA. Are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Oh, there being no comments, I will now close the public hearing. Yay. 12A, which is La Cañada Teachers Association negotiations proposal to La Cañada Unified, is Dr. Craddock again.
Thank you so much. This is the follow-up item to the hearing that we just had. So we will be heading into our negotiation season with LCTA soon as part of the process that allows us to get started. The Sunshine Letter from LCTA to LCUSD identifies the articles that the Teachers Association will present to the district, as well as any related appendices. And we're asking for the governing board to approve the Sunshine Letter from LCTA to LCUSD.
We have any comments?
I believe I would make a motion to receive the letter, association's proposal.
Well, can I get a second then?
Second.
All those all those in favor, Nairi's going to do roll call.
Roll call. Yes, thank you. We're going to begin with Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thuss,
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries,
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh,
Yes.
and our student representative Nathan Cho. This will be recorded as a preferential vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go to 12B, LCUSD negotiations proposal to LCTA.
Thank you so much. So this is the district's letter to LCTA for negotiations, which details the 5 articles that we are going to present to the teachers. And we're asking for the governing board to approve our Sunshine Letter to the Teachers Association.
Do I have anyone who is making the motion to receive? Is that right, Dan? Give?
I think this one actually we are approving because.
Oh,
we're
Correct.
approving
Thank you
extended
so much for
details.
the
Approving then.
clarification. Yes.
The other one, it's really technical, but because it's just starting the conversation, we just aren't approving the agreement with LCTA. We're just receiving it so we
Receiving.
know to get started with it. So on this one, we're approving the letter that's going from the district to LCTA. And so I'd move to approve the letter.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Nairi, can you do roll call?
Absolutely. Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thuss,
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries,
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh,
Yes.
and our student representative Nathan Cho.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
12C, review and approve the summary of revenue expenditures for 24-25. That will be Melissa.
It will be. Thank you. So as the slides are brought up, I just want to remind everybody that these are called the unaudited actuals because they have not been audited by our external audit company. Our auditors actually come next week to go over the audit, and then we'll issue our report. So I broke out, if I can, is it not working? Okay, can we do next slide, please?
We need tech support, please.
Beautiful slide. It's lighting up.
It has been the night of curveballs for the tech department, so we'll get it fixed.
It's lighting up.
We're usually a lot smoother than this for those who are watching.
Back to school. Oh, it's on. Okay. Okay. Um, So tonight, I'm going to be presenting the unaudited actuals for fiscal year 24-25 that ended on June 30th, 2025. So on this first slide, I broke down our unrestricted piece by itself because we normally look at the general fund combined, which is both unrestricted and restricted. But it's important to look at them separately because restricted funds generally carry over to next year. And so we don't always see all of the expenditures come to fruition. So I wanted to break down just in the revenue piece, you'll see out of the 56.1 million, we came in a little bit higher at 56.6 million. So a change of 0.22%. And then our expenditures for the unrestricted, actually, we had a savings of about 104,000 there. So there was minimal change at the unrestricted balance overall. And then looking at the unrestricted and restricted combined, you will see that there were a larger changes, and I will, on the next slides, break that down. There's still a small difference from the previous report at estimated actuals, but we are in line. It's less than 2% for both the revenue and the expenditure difference. And looking at the revenue breakdown, LCFF, which is local control funding formula, which is our majority of funding from the state based on our enrollment that Wendy was speaking about early, we did see an increase of that of about $380,000. And that was due to a prior year accrual adjustment that we had worked with the auditors on as well. The federal adjustment, it looks large at a 3% decrease. It's only a $32,000 change, and that was given the final allocation from the federal government. The other state had an increase, and that was due to the lottery, both restricted and unrestricted changes, as well as what we've mentioned in the past, STRS on behalf. It's a accounting record that we have to post both a revenue and an expenditure. So there's an offsetting expenditure for that piece as well. And then for other local, there's an increase there based on our interest adjustment. The county was a little behind on posting their interest, and so we actually only had one quarter posted until June 29th, and then in July they posted the other 3 quarters. So we do our best to try and guess based on the cash that we have for those quarters and what we think that the cash interest will gain. And so we were pretty close, but it came in a little bit higher on that piece, as well as a year-end fair market value adjustment for accounting standards. And then pulling both the revenue and the expenditures together, we look at our general fund change balance. We do still see a loss for 24-25 of approximately $2.3 million. So this slide combines both the revenue and the expenditures to show the changes, the increase of revenue and the decrease of expenditures. And again, this is for both unrestricted and restricted combined. Sorry. For the expenditures on this piece here, I think I went backwards. Sorry, did I skip too far? Okay, so I didn't go over this one yet, sorry. So for the expenditures after our revenue, you'll see our main 3 buckets are certificated salaries, classified salaries, and benefits. The unaudited actuals for those, the top 3 lines is $55.1 million, and that adds up to about 82% of our expenditures. So generally in school districts, salaries and benefits equal anywhere from 80 to 85%. Given, different circumstances and depending on the time of year. And so when all was said and done, our salaries and benefits ended up being 82% of our total budget for the general fund. So if you look at the top 3 lines again, because those are most of our spend for expenditures, we're really close. I want to thank Jackie and our fiscal office for that piece, because to come in at less than 1.5% in salaries is really spot on. And to be able to look at those salaries and vacation payouts and everything else that happens, extra time, overtime, all of the additional people that leave, people that get hired at the end of the year and everything, taking that into consideration. Materials and supplies, we did see a savings there, and more than that was in the restricted. So as I had mentioned, the restricted will carry over for next year. So there was funding for kitchen supplies and other one-time grants that will carry forward. And that was also the case in the services based on a grant that we received and capital outlay as well for the kitchen grant there. And now what I had mentioned earlier was pulling together for the general fund. So this was the slide that I was speaking to earlier without it being on the board. So we're all doing great tonight. So the difference here, we did see a loss still at the 2.3 million. And as previously shown, that was mostly unrestricted still. And then further digging into ending fund balance, you'll see that the assigned/restricted amount did go up, and that's because we have the carryover for the drop off of the expenditures there. Our economic uncertainties, you would think that it would go down, but actually it does go up because it's based on the total expenditures at year end. And the board has authorized a 3.5% reserve. So we have the state requirement is 3%, but we have 3.5%. So that's 2.3%. The amount that we have above the 3.5% is 1.1 million. Although that seems like a lot of money, it's actually not a lot because our payroll each month is about 3.5 million. So that doesn't even make half a month of payroll or keep the lights on. It just kind of helps us. So yes, we do have more than is required, but unified districts have anywhere from like 19 to 26% in the state of California. So we're trying to keep that in there to make sure that we make our out year predictions. And then looking at next steps, we'll submit the unaudited actuals to LACO after approved tonight, if approved. We'll continue to monitor enrollment, work with Wendy and Rebecca, and try and get all the independent study contracts that we can as well. Monitor the state and federal economy. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, work with the independent auditors. They'll be here next week. And then we have to accept our financial statements by December 15th. And so they'll be coming, or I'll be speaking at our board meeting once they issue the financial statements. Are there any questions?
Sorry, Dan. Just on the first page, I'm wondering, it's either I'm doing something wrong or there's a typo, but the revenue change and the expenditures change percentage, I think, is flipped, because 521,000 out of 56 million is much closer to 1% than it is to 0.22%, and 104,000 out of 48 million is also closer to 0.22%, I think.
Yes, I don't think those are correct. Sorry. So the first line item, the revenue change is 0.9%, 0.93 as you mentioned. And then the other one, let me just double check to make sure that I did just flip them, sorry, is 0.22%.
Yeah, I don't think
negative.
it's not a material difference actually in the numbers, but I think that the percentage got flipped.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a question about the federal funding. You mentioned that our federal funding is down about 3%. Are we preparing for further cuts to federal funding?
Yes, thank you. So we are preparing. There are adjustments for Title I. Our district does not receive Title I funding, so we do not have an adjustment for that. The funding has been restored. We had originally been told that our Title III funding would be cut, and that was about anywhere from 12 to 15,000. And we did find out at the end of last week that they would be funding that. So we'll be putting that back into the budget for first interim. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the summary of revenue and expenditures on.
Second.
Oh, okay. Nairi.
Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thuss,
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries,
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh,
Yes.
and our student representative, Nathan Cho.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next, 12D, Resolution 225, adoption of the education protection account. Melissa, again.
Thank you. Yes. So this is ties to the financials that you just approved. So this is the education protection account is a factor of the LCFF formula. It's essentially an offset. So if one piece comes in higher, this one would be adjusted. So at current for 25-26, the estimated EPA is 2,204,336,000. And LEAs, we receive this money quarterly from the state, and payments will be received in September, December of 2025, and then March of June of 2026. And that's how we budget within our cash flow as well. And so consistent with prior year, LCUSD will use the 25-26 estimated EPA funds to support salaries and benefits for regular classroom teachers. The number of teachers funded will be determined as salary and benefits information becomes available, which last year it was approximately 20.6 full-time equivalent or FTE positions. So the resolution as well as a breakdown for the spending is attached. And so tonight I'm asking for approval for resolution 2-25-26.
Is there any discussion? And if not, could I get a motion?
I make
I make
a
a
motion
motion.
to approve 2-25-26.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Nairi.
Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thuss.
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries,
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh,
Yes.
Student Representative Nathan Cho.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Next, cell phone policy discussion and challenge success grant update. Jamie?
Thank you. So tonight I want to present on the current cell phone policies at all of our campuses and also talk about the recent Challenge Success grant that we were awarded to help us with the development of our policies. So just as a quick background, our current policies are for TK6, phones are away for the day. For middle school, phones are away for the day. And for 9-12, the policy provides a little more flexibility, recognizing the need for phones to potentially be used by students during instructional time with teacher approval. So tonight I'll go over the Challenge Success grant and those policies. Thank you. Great. Okay, so I reviewed the policies with you so you can kind of know where we are district-wide. I want to talk a little bit about the latest research. I'll share some interesting maps from the Anxious Generation. If you've seen that book or been part of those book clubs, they've got a great website kind of showing where this is landing across the country. And then I'll share a little bit about the Challenge Success Grant and the work we're going to be doing there. So the context here is that last fall, Governor Newsom signed AB 3226, and this is essentially the Phone-Free School Act, so that every school has to have a policy in place limiting use by July 1st, 2026. A lot of districts and schools, jumped right in. There was, if you remember the early days of like, are we going to get yonder bags and lock up phones? And there was parents on both sides, really kind of curious and demanding about what we were going to do. And because we already had a fairly solid policy at the high school, we chose to work on enforcing that and then, work on our next steps. And good thing we did, because now we have a grant from Challenge Success to do that. And the whole goal of that is to really get student voice involved. So Nathan, I'm glad you're here. And there also has been developments with this bill and amendments. So you'll see in a map in a little while, Texas, for example, their act for the state is phones are away for the entire day, bell to bell, and taken away from kids. Like, it's a very strict approach, where California has amended the bill, and I'm not sure if it's signed yet, but to make sure kids have access to phones in case of emergency. So we've taken a slightly different approach. So again, it's good we waited so we can make the right decision. As I mentioned, at the campuses, this is really the lay of the land. The difference this year is because we got the grant, I asked Principal Paskowitz and Assistant Principals Tobin and Niebuhr to really talk about the cell phone policy with the teachers at their first staff meeting and make sure they all knew what it was. And then the charge was to share it with the kids. And so I have some initial survey data so we can see how that's going, and Nathan can chime in as well. So our current policy is, this is from the handbook, prior to earning each class, students must silence cell phones, take out AirPods and earbuds, place them in their backpack or in the teacher's specified location. With the teacher's express permission, a cell phone may be taken out of class and used only for the purposes stated by the teacher. Cell phone use in the bathroom or locker room is strictly prohibited. So that's the existing policy. So no change for this school year. But what has changed is we're talking about the policy. So based on talking with students last year, the policy wasn't really well known. It was enforced really unevenly. It was reintroduced this year, and teachers were given cell phone pockets, so those calculator pockets to hang in their classroom. And so teachers had the option to grab one of those at the opening staff meetings or from Miss Daly and hang them up in their classrooms. And it was really about developing this new habit. So here's the existing policy, we're enforcing it, and let's see what happens. So, a few quotes from the students that I surveyed. For the most part, I haven't seen phones out in class yet, even the ones that don't require us to put our phones away in the pouches. People seem a lot more focused, and I think the policy was clear and students understand it. Sample size of 11, but it's some good data. Next student said, I recommend that instead of a strict phone policy, we should consider a more educational approach in which we can teach the students not to use the phone and what happens when they abuse that privilege. Simply banning these devices may lead to resentment towards teachers and may not address the underlying issues. Exactly my thinking. I would love this quote. We always focus on education first, and I think that's why we didn't leap to a stricter policy, because my gripe with the initial law was that we're moving a problem after school. We're not really addressing the mental health issue. We're not teaching kids about managing distractions, although we do in our classes. But I think that should be the focus. And then here's where we are at the grant. So Kelly Proctor forwarded an email to me over the summer or just before school got out. She got a notice about this grant. I conferred with the high school team and Mr. Cardinal, should we go for it? We applied. We were one of 3 schools selected nationally. We made it to the interview round and killed it. We are all overachievers. So they said, if this was a race, you're pretty far down the track already. And I'm like, we're going to be in. This is great. So the principals helped me present, and we got the notification that we were accepted about a month ago. So what the grant gets us is our cost approximately to be part of the Challenge Success work each year, which gives us the we go to the conference, we do the survey every other year. It's about $8,000. So we got all of that for free this year with the grant. So that's really helpful. And it came with a $1,500 stipend for travel to help offset the cost to the conference. We get a personalized coach who works with us monthly to go over our plan. And we get a site visit and some parent training is all part of the process. So the other schools that won, a charter school down in Tustin and a private school in Albuquerque, are the other awardees. And we'll be meeting up with them at the conference next month, which is great. So one of the other parts of Challenge Success is that the coach said, we need to find, as the student mentioned previously, the underlying issue with phone use. Like, why are they choosing to pull out their phones? Amazing, great question. And he said his parent session or his site visit or his work with the teachers could be on that topic. Are we talking about engagement strategies, those types of things? So we haven't really focused in on that yet. That'll be the site's decision, but that's pretty exciting that, again, it's not about the phones, it's about why the phones are being used. And what we'll be doing is giving out a survey around cell phone usage. I did the little pilot one to get some data for tonight and really talk about what kids think about phones. Do they think that they're a distraction? Do they understand the science behind, if I took out my phone right now, all of you would want to check your phone to see if you missed, like your mirror neurons kick in and you want to do something with it? Do they know that if you do get a distraction in class with your technology, it takes you anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to refocus and think about all that was just lost in terms of instruction. So there's some interesting things to learn. But the big part of this cohort is to gather student voice, help them shape the policy with us. And then this turns into national guidance that will be available to the rest of the country out of Challenge Success. So that's pretty exciting. Possible outcomes. So I'm thinking, okay, what are our options for policy? Like, where can we go with this? The obvious one, probably most strict, is the bell-to-bell like TK8, where it's not out during passing periods and break. It's not out during advisory or homeroom. And the thinking behind that is that's when kids can socialize and make eye contact and have friends versus retreating to their phone. So there's some thinking around that. Is that what we want for high school? Or are we also thinking about, wow, they're going to be managing themselves within 1 to 3 years, 1 to 4 years as a high schooler? Do we need to gradually release responsibility? That's another consideration. So it could be no phones during instructional time, and we help them manage those free times. Or it stays with the current policy, phone out with teacher permission. The one piece that I think is really important to make sure the policy includes is that if you need your cell phone for medical devices, we have kids with type 1 diabetes, and that's a lifeline for their parents to monitor their levels. That would be permitted, obviously. Kids that have this written into their IEP, it's a really great accommodation to be able to take your phone out and take a picture of something that the teacher wrote on the board. We wouldn't want to interfere with any of that. And then, as I said, with the law, the consideration for access for safety. So those are the possible outcomes. Let me share just a couple maps and then we'll have a bit of a discussion. So this comes from the Anxious Generation. They're tracking 4 different things that they're kind of claiming leads towards more anxiety in our youth today. So they're talking about AI policies, they're talking about social media policies, phone-free schools, and then childhood independence. And that's where you're just, you're not always, you're letting your kids walk to school by themselves. They can ride their bikes. Like they're tracking some of that oversight that's happening now with parents could potentially be part of this kind of factor of four things, talking about anxiety. So this is the state, a map of all the states that have enacted some form of a cell phone policy or not. So the green, the bright green, they have fully enacted cell phone restrictive laws for schools. The teal is partially enacted, under construction is gray, and then nothing. So you can see this is a nationwide conversation. A lot of, quite a few are having the conversation. And then in social media, I just thought that was an interesting comparison because the spark of why they're wanting kids not to have phones in school is primarily because of the social media distraction or risks of bullying, things like that. But in terms of laws protecting kids from social media or having something in terms of guidance, like it's almost non-existent. And I think that's just an interesting comparison because again, going to root cause, we might be missing something.
Is this
Mhm.
laws protecting social media use in schools or laws protecting social media in general?
Yeah,
Okay.
so minors and social media. Mhm. It's very difficult because how do you restrict, monitor? I mean, we already have the under 13 restrictions, and kids just make up their ages. My niece told me she has her secret age, and she meant it as a privacy, but it's used to sign up for things, right? It's an interesting challenge. So all of this ties to our tech vision, which in my opening report talked about AI. So just so you kind of know the headers of where we're looking at, everything is about learning. When we're thinking about policy and things that we enact around technology, we focus on learning. We're expanding that to like, what does participation look like for students? How do we teach balance? There's lessons in advisory right now about managing distractions, cell phones and tech included. So this isn't, for tonight to spend a lot of time on, but I just wanted you to know that this nests within that larger vision that includes things like, essential tech skills kids need, cybersecurity, using AI ethically, all of those are components. So we want to make sure that the work we do with this policy really connects to all of the other work that we're doing. So our next steps, and then I'll open this for discussion. Our cohort had their kickoff meeting last week. We're off to conference on September 12th, where we'll meet the other award winners or grantee winners. And then we'll pick the survey date. So when we'll give out the challenge success survey, so we can start analyzing that data. And then we'll begin setting up dates with our coach and onboarding the process. So we're really excited to see where this goes. So I'd love to take your questions or thoughts. Nathan, please share anything that you're thinking, or if you want to share your experiences with the policy this year, I'd love to hear that as well.
I have a question. Just reading the policies that we have, I think somewhere in one of the policies, I'm not sure if it was elementary or middle school, but when there is sort of a violation of the current rule of cell phone use, the phone can be retrieved sort of after school at 3:15 or the next day. And I got a little concerned about the next day piece because this day and age, I know I haven't had a landline in my home since 2007. And I'm just wondering if in practice, is it more typical to ensure that the students have their phones with them on, before they go home versus what is in writing? And is there consideration for maybe changing that? I think maybe that might be an interesting thing to look at.
Sure. I can ask Mr. Cardinal to help because he might know this more on the ground at the high school. But from what I've seen the last week where I've been at the school after school, kids are coming in to get their phones, and I haven't seen anybody turned away. So they're able to find the person who has them. Often, so far, it's been they left it in the pouch, wasn't confiscated. They just forgot it. Again, because it's a new habit. But I think they're given back right after school.
Yeah, I
Good.
would just simply add that I think what we're trying to do is really lead, as Jamie said, the entire time with education. And when there is a cell phone that's held, it's done really in concert and in communication and partnership with the student and family, mostly because of inappropriate use. And that call home is always with an open heart and mind to understand that there may be particular familial circumstances particularly as it regards safety, where that phone does need to go home. If it's, between catching a bus or getting a ride and safely getting home, more times across my career, the parents say, you keep that phone till Friday, Mr. Cardinal. And if they violate it again, we'll see at the end of the semester.
That's interesting. Huh. Okay. And then what I'm curious what Nathan has in mind on this, just as a student board rep. Any thoughts?
Thank you so much. Yes, as a student representative, I was very interested about the topic today. One of my thoughts was from reading some research from study.com. A flexible policy gives teachers with flexible policy 56% improvement. However, for California, 24% of teachers with that flexible policy saw marked depreciations in student attention. And one reason that NEA today identified was that by having a policy that's not as we had mostly last year, not widespreadly enforced, becomes a problem with students because students see one teacher as the cool teacher and then have a lot of disrespect for the other teacher, which makes a lot of student teacher conflict, and that's bad for everyone. So, an idea that I had was that perhaps we could give every grade a chance with the phones. What I mean by that is that we have marked differences in maturity with freshmen and seniors. And what I think that perhaps could happen is that you give everyone an incentive, tell the students that if this becomes a problem for the grade, we will have a widespread policy that all phones will be inside the pouches, for example, right? So that what that would do would that incentivize other students to hold themselves and others accountable for cell phone usage. And then if it becomes a problem for even one teacher, you have the widespread policy. But if it does not become a problem, we just have our policy. Oh, just put your phones in your backpack. I won't take them from you. But if you just put your phones in the backpack and it's not a problem for your grade, it won't be a problem. I think that instead of just punishing everyone, giving them a chance would give her some improvements with helping students like keep themselves accountable and be more mature.
I'm interested in the word you used, punishment. So it was like putting the cell phone in the pouch, punishment.
Not to me.
Okay.
I think that sometimes that when I'm trying to study and there's like a test tomorrow,
Yeah.
and kids are like on their phone, it's
Yeah.
a little hard for me to study. Not to me, but maybe to other students.
Sure. No, it's good. That was great. Thank you. Great ideas.
Jamie, I have a question and then
Please.
a couple thoughts. Has Challenge Success, do they have a policy position or are they using this study, this grant to develop their policy position?
I mean, they're 100% student forward. So they want the kids to be a part of whatever we determine. So they want it to adhere with the law, but be created by our students in partnership with the adults. So as of right now, they have not given us any guidance or recommendations of where this goes.
I mean, it's hard because student forward could mean what's best for the students or what the students want. Those are both student forward. I don't know, where.
And that's why, I mean, there's kind of three ideas. It's bell to bell, they're gone. You have them at free time or teacher discretion. I mean, there aren't a lot of avenues. I mean, although Nathan presented a fourth choice by grade level, like there's a few ways to go.
Yeah. And so to take that, just to kind of flesh that out a little bit, I think the teacher discretion, and maybe this is going to be part of our study or our discussion is, I wonder a couple of things. The first is if there's a differentiated rule from classroom to classroom, the challenges that creates for two things. The first is you're asking teachers to not only manage the classroom in all the regular ways, but also police phone use and creating, as you said, creating like the cool teacher and a teacher who could use phones as a reward system or, in some way that may not be in the best interest of what we're trying to do policy wise. But also, I think that I've lost my train of thought a little bit, but I think that, when we're looking for sort of a policy, the other thing is if we have something where we have teachers making choices, and I know because I'm in the classroom with students using electronics, and it's like you have an ambitious policy in which you're monitoring electronic use, and then as the semester goes on, it becomes a battle that just isn't the thing you want to fight in the same way, and so the policy is shifting throughout the semester or shifting throughout from day to day depending on what's happening. And so I feel like I would be really interested to get, and I'm certain we will, but to get teacher feedback and to talk about, is there benefit if we go with this idea of even if it's just classroom, we're allowing students to use their phones during the, between from bell to bell, then, not bell to bell, but
The free
during
time,
breaks,
yeah.
during passing periods and stuff. Are we unifying our
Mhm.
way that we're dealing with phones in the classroom? Because I think to me, that would be something that'd be interested in knowing if that's where the teachers want to be, and if there's a benefit for students in knowing that every time they walk into a classroom, they're going to put their phone in a pouch or whatever it is, so that we just have a unified response.
Yeah, I think that's great. One of the things I learned from one of the partner schools is that they did a tech-free month to kind of see what the bell to bell would be like for their high schoolers. So they did it as an experiment so everybody can kind of see and then have conversations about it, which I thought was really interesting. The other thing that kind of sparked between what the two of you were saying is that there are specific courses where it's just really helpful to have a phone, like photography. And so maybe rather than it's up to teacher discretion, it could be that these are the approved courses because it makes sense for what they need to do, where phones are approved just there. Like that could be another way to keep it super consistent, so it's not something the teachers are managing or reputations are involved, but this is a policy with a few exceptions. That could be interesting.
I wanted to share just very quickly that when we've workshopped this question with the faculty at Lafayette High School, a response to use the phone is primarily to try and protect instructional time and not to have 4 to 8 of your kids leave the class and say, I have to get a Chromebook at the IRC because I don't have a device. So if the teacher is very much willing to say, if you have an internet connected device that you're able to access either Google Classroom or the activity, that protects instructional time. And the faculty kind of agreed, at least while I was principal at the high school, on a consensus that that would be a very good use of a cell phone.
Sorry, just to that point, I mean, and I see this all the time. It's like what starts out with the best intention is saying to a student, and I just had this conversation with students, and I said, look, if you can't manage your own distractions, because the problem is that you pull out your phone with the best intention of doing something, and then you get a notification, and then you get another notification, and then something pops up and you get a text message, and it becomes hard to manage for anybody, for adults or anybody else. And so, I think that because we can't, once the phone is open, we have a hard time managing what is popping up on the phone. So,
But Jamie, I had a couple of questions,
Please.
thoughts. The first one, and I think it's perfect that you're working on this because you also are working on our safety plans for the district, and you also are involved in the analysis of the swatting incident at the high school. And those all come together with the idea of, do students need a phone to receive communications in times of an emergency? Because as you've pointed out during the swatting incident, a lot of times the students were getting information on their phones that was either correct official information or also incorrect unofficial information that was misleading. So I think that kind of ties into what you would expect if you have students who have phones available to them during an emergency. And so I think that would be good to sort of focus a little bit on, especially, for instance, if we know we've got red flag days and it may turn that there'll be a fire or evacuation warning or anything like that. You may want to be able to have that message get out to the students quicker. So I think that kind of ties into the other two things. The other thing that kind of ties in with Nathan's point is that I was talking to a parent this morning about this particular issue, and she was saying that as her kids got older, it became more and more important for her to be able to get messages to them. That when they start driving, a message might be, your dental appointment this afternoon has been canceled, or things where kids are having a little more control over their own schedule. There may be some update that the parent wants to give them to that. And I think that's one thing to consider, is like, if that's the case, when do the kids get an opportunity to receive that? Or is there some other way? You don't want the parents calling the front office and having the front office deliver handwritten messages. So
Exactly. And I that's why I don't really see in terms of number one budget, but for those very reasons, like the Yonder bag, I don't know if that's ever in our roadmap to like take away phones daily and have a process of having to redistribute them. That just doesn't seem like to be the right fit for us. But everything's on the table. But for those very reasons, especially after just the very strong push we've had with coaches and Parent Square and getting communication, I mean, to not have your phone when we've just made this massive switch, we have, we want to protect those policies and that the gain we've made there.
and to Mr. Joe's point, I think it's likely that when you're at a much younger grade, you don't need to have that
Mhm.
information, but it's certainly when you start getting into 11th and 12th grade
Yeah.
where you're monitoring your schedule, it becomes more important. The other thing that I think kind of strikes me in all this is I think we also want to make sure we get some parent input on it.
Yes.
You know, because I think that we we need to get as much student input as we
Mhm.
can, but also I think we want to make sure we hear from the parents on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as when we
Dan,
do the
that's
survey, I have a parent version as well. Sorry, Joe, please.
no, it's hard. Yeah, at this week's PTSA meeting, the group kind of orientated everything about the grant, what's going on. A lot of energy behind that with the lot of engagement with the parents, and then there's been some social media chatter this last week too. It's kind of a lot of interest perking up in terms of seeing it from all sides.
Mhm.
And I think Joe's right. It's from all sides.
Mhm.
There are parents who would like to see us have a much stricter policy about phone use, and other parents who want us to have more kids have access to it when they need it.
I just have two quick questions. Do we not allow for medical device exemption? I know that, for example, when I wear my hearing aid, my phone can control it.
Mhm.
Are those included? So do we not allow for medical?
Currently, the policy doesn't spell it out, so I think that would be the fix, but I don't think there are any issues.
But there's
with this.
nobody stopping
Yeah,
it. From
no.
Great. And then are we going to be addressing other devices like smartwatches and Google Glasses and other electronics, or is it strictly cell phone?
For the grant, it's cell phone, but in the way the high school policy is written, it's electronic device policy and also calls out wearables. So I think that's on the table. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Next, we go to Mr. Cartnell, Hanover Research Membership Action Plan and Consultancy Contract.
Good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be able to speak to the governing board on a proposed contract from Hanover Research, where I have been working with members of Hanover's research team to talk about ways that their consultancy services can benefit La Cañada Unified's math adoption, particularly at the elementary level. As a contextual statement, I wanted to share with the board and my cabinet colleagues and Superintendent Sinet really kind of three big ideas that animate me in speaking with you tonight. The first of which is a charge that Superintendent Sinet gave to all of the cabinet and site administrators, and that was a charge to aspire to transparency. I have brought items in consent before to this board and have been asked for all matters related to ed services, particularly when it comes to math, to always do items where we're having a chance for public input, dialogue with the board, so everyone's really clear what we're doing. That's the first. The second is out of sensitivity that there are great feelings and thoughts about the direction that we as a district should take with respect to elementary math adoption. There's strong feelings among the faculty. There's strong feelings among among parents, and this partnership action plan from Hanover Research seeks to address that. And the third contextual statement that I'd like to share is this past spring, in my first year being fortunate enough to be your assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, I had a remarkably powerful professional experience playing a small role in chaperoning a delegation of 7 outstanding La Cañada High School students who engaged in a consultancy competition from Bain Consultancy, where their fresh perspectives were advising a major Fortune 500 company on how to, in essence, activate and pursue a certain strategy. And it's in that learning with our students I speak to you today about this membership action plan. A little bit about Hanover Research. I came to know them from my academic, or I should say professional coach, who was a former administrator and LACO representative who had, while she was a site administrator, partnered with Hanover Research. I was also part of a professional development job alike consortium where 2 of our partner districts, some of them mentioned on that slide, had engaged in learning plans or learning activities with Hanover Research. They're a business that basically works in the so-called P20 space. That's pre-kindergarten all the way up through graduate school. So they have research projects they do in higher ed. They work in the K-12 space, in TK, and they advise school districts and schools across the state of California, across the nation, and across the globe, but in the nation particularly. A partnership has many, many benefits. We gain access to the wide degree of resources that they have available to us. There's consultancy, which is a contract that I'm bringing to the board today. In fact, in some of the proposals that I've seen redacted, kind of sample works that they've given me that fill me with confidence that this is the right thing for us here at the right time. One of the projects they recently did actually was a cell phone service, a cell phone policy survey where they were working with one of the partner districts to kind of ascertain exactly what the board was just talking about a moment ago. How do you gain parent feedback? How do you gain student feedback? How do you gain stakeholder feedback? And that's what this proposal is basically all about. Their services happen across those 5 gear domains. We would be benefiting, should the board agree to enter into this contract, basically into the 3 of them, which is the research services, the advisory services, and the professional learning opportunities. What we're in essence proposing is to partner with them to, as the next couple of slides here, say, partner with them to help create a math priorities survey. Here's what I shared with them in the 4-bullet contextual statements there on the left of the screen. I apologize for the small print. Basically, we're tasked with engaging in a math adoption that is rooted in the 2023 California Math Framework adoption, which I think the board is aware is looked at by some in the community as something that we need to be very careful about and perhaps does not represent the best localized interest of La Cañada, and we need to be reading that framework with a very critical and careful eye. We're also going to be faced in November with a published list from the state of California of so-called approved curricula that is met with the kind of metrics of the framework. And then typically districts adopt from that list. And so it's just been my experience in the relatively short time in this new position that I have touched up against a variety of different opinions related to math. And that's clarified for me that we really have a need to make sure that we're clear and a way to gather this disparate and divergent feedback. That we should, as I already said or alluded to in that second bullet point, that the math framework has an emphasis on conceptual understanding rooted in this moment of teaching that's about cognitively guided instruction. And forgive the jargon, that's not what this presentation is about. But I think many of us, as we would reflect about goals of math learning, of course would say conceptual understanding is key. Providing the kids opportunities to apply their math to real world problems is key. But when that is done without the requisite kind of acquisitional foundation where students have confidence in their operational or computational fluencies, that's a concern. And so this survey that it's my hope that Hanover can help us create is going to give us really important data to, I think, equip us to be much more able to adopt a set of materials that's really going to work well for our local context and not just take something that the state says we should take because they've outlined it in bullet points in the framework. We know that in this to board meetings, I had an item somewhat recently. I don't know if it set the record for a number of minutes on a particular item, but when we looked at, our work ed policy for 7-8 and analyzed our administrative regulation associated with that practice, we had a lot of energy behind it. And we've got a wonderful, engaged, thoughtful, smart, well-researched group of fired up parents. Some of them come together in the La Cañada Math Parents Association. And they send notes and they really care about us wanting to do strong work and they want us to be well informed. And so we want to provide this opportunity to really gain stakeholder feedback. And then finally, we want to balance all of that, get something that our teachers can teach effectively, but also is in line with, other stakeholder feedback, and we know that. And the goals, that I've woven in our talk already are clear. We want to make sure that this ultimately is going to result in the very best adoption we can do. When I met with Hanover and we talked about, in essence, the arc of a math adoption, they put forward basically a 7 or 8 step process that I don't know what you think about it, but I'll admit to you, I think it's elegant. When you begin something with the best practice research, and then you really start thinking about how you can adopt a rubric that's aligned to your stakeholder feedback, that localizes, again, your priorities and lets you get the things that work best for your students, the 4,000 plus students in La Cañada Unified, right? We want to get something that works directly for them, not necessarily what is happening in San Francisco Unified, San Diego, LA. That's not us. We have different math outcomes that we're working towards. Our students travel along a pathway that very few in the state do. And so we want to make sure that we're really accurate on that. In addition to the survey and the rubric, this idea around interviewing people, parents, teachers, kids about their math experience. Now, I don't know that we do that for a third grader, but certainly when we're talking about doing it at the high school, that makes a lot of sense, right? Ask Nathan and his peers, what do they think? And then close that out, this notion around, kind of doing a data analysis about our outcomes. We're not contracting with Hanover because that's something that we do in-house all the time. And so we don't need a partner to accomplish that. To look at a vendor scan, that's what our credentials are for. That's what the state list is for. That's what the data is going to guide us for. And then finally, a capstone report is something that I would welcome to bring to the board and would fully expect it would be the outcome of this kind of arc of what we're trying to do with the elementary math adoption. So here's the bottom line. They would propose that we take those 7 or 8 different steps and they would want us to contract for all of them. And I went back and said, we simply cannot afford that. But we do have categorical monies. And for all of to use board member Jeffrey's comment, to the hundreds of people present here tonight and those watching on YouTube, all multitude of you, the categorical monies, it should be remembered, are not things that can go to just any cost in the district, but they're specific. And these specific funds are monies that will need to be spent by the end of the year in a professional development and educator effective fund. And I think this would be an excellent use of those. I've workshopped this at length with my cabinet colleagues, in particular Superintendent Sinet, to make sure that this is the right thing at the right time for the right goal. And then finally, the way that the price breakdown looks is they have a tiered system of one specific project of those 7 or 8, a multiple kind of projects do 2, or you do the whole thing. And I have been working with a very kind and thoughtful representative of the company. I've met members of the research team who have worked with various districts in the state of California and elsewhere in the nation around trying to, again, doing something similar, organizing those districts' priorities. And so I went back to them and said, we simply can't afford your price. We would very much be interested in getting help developing our rubric rooted in the stakeholder survey feedback that we think is going to be terrific. That itself will provide an opportunity to get parents involved, with kind of these are the kinds of questions we're looking at. I'd welcome a chance to bring this back to the board so you have some oversight about the kind of direction that we're taking with the survey. The survey will give us data, and from that data, we can then fashion a math priorities evaluation rubric, which we will be able to overlay when we're evaluating resources. It's important to remember the state will release in November of 2025 its approved list. That approved list is going to be closely aligned to the California math framework. There are many in our community who would ask us to be very careful about the California math framework. And therefore, we need to look within what we're doing right now, identify curriculum or curricula that is working that may not be on the state list, and be bold to say, if we have action research where with our present students right now, these curricula are working, can we open up the conversation about perhaps adopting that for the entirety of the elementary school? Are there other tools out there? And we know we have friends in the district, partners in our parent community, and then the data that we hope are going to gain from this to be able to arm us to make sure that we're doing the very best thing for locking in high school students. I welcome a chance to take your questions.
I think that was one of my first questions, and you answered it. Was we do not have to adopt texts or curriculum that are on the, we have the option of choosing outside of the adopted list by the State Board of Education. I don't know if we've ever acted in that way, but I'm
Yeah.
happy to hear that
Yeah.
that's an option.
Thank you. I mean, I'm a public school teacher first, turned administrator, lucky enough to serve you now in a cabinet level position. We don't come to work to buck the state of California. We implement the California curriculum. We do that with fidelity, and we protect and serve in the same way as Nathan had to take the oath tonight. But we need to also be mindful of being willing to do the work, at least for my part, to come to a nuanced, sensitive, thoughtful, engaged approach that's good for our 4,000 students and not the millions in the state of California.
Jim, can I have?
Thanks, Joe.
A couple of things. Well, first off, I always do believe that at times it's good to have an outside-in perspective and someone to facilitate different ways of looking at information and how it informs our strategy. Remind me, have we worked with this group before?
I have not worked with Hanover, kind of confirmed with, like I said, job-alike colleagues that they do solid work. Looking forward to this partnership. Very excited to be able to dig into the research library where I know they have redacted samples of surveys and reports they've written on many of the topics we've talked about tonight, cell phone usage and so on.
So then, trying to understand. So when I looked at you're recommending a $25,000 project, and in the back options, it's the middle option of abbreviated custom research. Do we also get project one and the abbreviated custom research, or what exactly are we getting for the 25 in the middle?
Yeah, thank you for that, Joe. So we get basically of the 7 kind of, from best projects to intensive math interviews to capstone report and to all of that, of those 7 things, we get 2. And I've identified the 2 as a math priorities survey that we will create in partnership with Hanover, workshop with our teachers, get parent feedback on the creation of the survey, give that to stakeholders. And then based upon that data, we'll partner again with Hanover to create an evaluation rubric where when we are looking at publishing curriculum or the publisher's curriculum, we can then use that rubric to identify the very best thing. In addition to those 2 product outcomes, we also get access as a member to their research library, and that provides us an opportunity to, read a lot about kind of best practice articles as well as the work that they've done in partnership with other districts for, to help guide, for instance, the way that, perhaps Jamie and I will try to gain, and with the students and the high school team, gain that parent feedback on the cell phone policy.
So the main deliverable will be this rubric, which then, because it'll be cross-developed with all the different stakeholders, math parents, everybody else who wants to jump in. But then you go through the adoption process, it'll be there as the blueprint, right? And the lens you're looking through in which to select what's right for us. Is that the way to think about it?
That's exactly it. And moreover, I would just, strengthen the idea that I think if we can really develop a rubric and have that solid data about what our math priorities are, that's going to really clearly I would imagine have us be landing on a set of books we maybe consider piloting that's going to have that strong acquisitional foundation where we know our students are getting that computational operational confidence, of knowing their math facts, from which then they can gain access to that conceptual understanding, as opposed to trying to kind of teach the conceptual understanding while the students are not really knowing their math facts and using a calculator, and maybe are not as able to, they're not able to really clarify and have meaning making out of that conceptual understanding.
And
just-
finally, then I think the only thing that'd be interesting, I do support it, and I think it'd be interesting to know if there's the process you're going through, is there lessons learned in other adoptions down the road? If you end up with a rubric developed in such a robust way that then you can stand behind for multiple adoptions. Now, I know math versus English or science is different, but at least the process to get there, right?
Well, thank you so much for that. I mean, this year's was going to be, not only kind of confirming the initiatives and the developments that we engaged with last year. Our teachers are doing, always really, really strong work, but also hearing from site administrators and a couple of the faculty with whom I've been in contact this young year. There's also, some concerns about the science resources that we're using, and I think that we're in a way mapping out a blueprint that can really, really help us and help our students moving forward.
And Joe, that's a really good point. We always want to learn from, past issues or areas of concern, and we've not always had the smoothest adoption processes. And one of the things that I charged Anna East with, and then with Jim the last year, was I wanted for us to develop, something that was a little bit outside the box, a little bit best practices, a little bit cutting edge in terms of our adoption practices. And it's very much rooted in, what our teachers think and what they feel, but we also know that our parents are very involved. So if we have a system whereby we're collecting data and reaching out to people and involving them via a survey as to what they're interested in, what they're looking for, and then we can collect all that data, create a rubric. I think it will set us up for a much more collective process, maybe a process that people feel is more transparent. At the, K-8 level, where we have parents on the committee, it's very hard to get parents to sit down and to be a part of those processes. So maybe if we front load it with their input, I think teachers will feel stronger if they're heard from the get-go and their feedback's taken on the surveys, and then they see the rubric come out, because sometimes for them to have an actual tool to use in the process might be, very efficacious for just them feeling like professionals who are, giving their solid research. And then, there's some controversy over the math framework. So the more that we can really establish ourselves in this practice and build people's confidence as we onboard it, I think it will serve us a lot. And then it could be, the model for what we do in science and what we do in English. And so I think it's worth trying, because if we just reinvent the same wheel, we might have the same levels of criticism.
And I think, Wendy, that's exactly, there's one bullet point on one of your slides that says to address parent concerns by proactively understanding underlying issues, driving curriculum advocacy. And I think that's the part of it that I'm the most excited about, is the proactively doing it. Because a lot of times what's happened in the past is we'll propose something and it's almost reactive. We're kind of down to the point where we're reactive, trying to justify or explain what the decision was. By being proactively able to address the parent concerns and understand what those concerns are, I think gets us a long way. So good idea.
I agree. I think that I applaud you for being proactive, and I think this is a wise choice. To kind of Wendy and Joe's point, I did have a question, which is, Hanover has in their proposal has laid out this roadmap of 7 projects. How closely? I know you said you felt like we could internally do some of this. How closely do you feel like you're going to adhere to the roadmap? Are you going to do these other projects internally, or, I mean, I'm sorry, Hanover, for some of your proprietary material, but just if you could give us a sense, and then if you could also talk about timeline all the way through.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, certainly I was grateful, from a collegial perspective to be working, with Erica from Hanover, and to be able to see that, we want to do some of these things, feel like we are working well and on pace with respect to the best practice report. Related to this item is initiatives in the spring of last year, whereby I applied and can share the happy news that we were accepted into a math adoption consortium via LACO, when not a lot of districts were, and that provides us an opportunity to take the team to LACO and get coached on, kind of some of the best practice. So I feel like in that first domain, not only the research that I've done from my office on the framework, we're going to be able to get a kind of a math steering committee together, and I'm excited about that. The survey, it's my hope, would really be developed, if the board approves, really starting tomorrow to, confirm the contract and try to get that out by mid-October, I think. I think if we can take the balance of the month of September to really kind of have that back and forth with our stakeholders, I think that the adoption survey is excuse me, the more intensive in-depth interviews is an interesting problem to conceive about how you speak to the elementary students about that. Maybe those are with teachers. So I'm really looking forward to that. The rubric would follow the survey data. So I would expect hopefully, by the new year, or as we're kind of turning January to February in 26, that's done. And that is a nice coinciding timeline, because the state's going to release its so-called approved list in November. And so, we'll have our house largely in order with our survey completed, the rubric hopefully pretty much right there, to take a look at this, and to look at the state list, and then have that opportunity to, go to faculty meetings, hear from teachers, work with our steering committee, get to LACO, work with the Blocking Out Math Parents Association, work with through the GATE Advisory Committee, and all these mechanisms that we have to gain feedback. I don't know about how detailed the capstone project is going to be. I figured that I'll come back and share with you all.
So the timeline, the final adoption is aimed
Well,
at,
again, the state will release its list in
Right.
November. There are some districts that may pilot, come the spring. I don't want to go too far out over my skis, but I've made a recommendation to Wendy that we don't do that.
Yeah,
Right.
We want to let that slow itself
slow the
down.
roll on that.
We
Well,
want to make sure we have our math priorities in order, and then
Okay.
once we have that, we can then see where the publishers are.
That's
And I
great.
don't think there's any reason to rush. I mean, I
Excellent.
just, I want us to be strategic. I want us to have all of our research done,
Yep.
all of our input, our rubric, make sure teachers are on board, and then just map out a timeline whereby we can do our best work.
That's great. And who is the contact that you're working with at Hanover, and does she or he have background in mathematics,
Oh.
educate in teaching math?
Yeah, thank you. They have an outreach team that is the kind of initial, as often is the case, initial contact person. And then they have academic researchers on staff with whom then really kind of the sales arm partners and begins to introduce. And so I suspect that there's going to be, kind of a warm handoff and continual touch points to the rep Erica. But I would imagine in reality, I'll be working with more of the research team as we get down to the nuts and bolts of fashioning the survey and then ultimately the rubric.
And this is my last question. Just piggybacking on that. Are they aware of sort of the issues that came out of California Math Framework?
Yeah,
The nuance and
I've probably had, starting in May, 10 meetings just to talk, and also to kind of share that, again, certainly not trying to both go long and then anger anyone that may be listening to this on YouTube, but I am aware of the math wars, the strong opinions relative to what math means in our district, what it portends to our kids, and we want to get this right. And I think we need the data in order to really put out something and have everyone be able to see it and say, this is what you all said. And so we're going to do it based upon what this data is. We hear it from our teachers. We want our teachers to take into account what our parents have. We want to make sure we get something that teachers have confidence in, but we want to make sure that the tool itself also, right, is aligned to these priorities. That as a staff, the number of teachers that have come up to me and shared that they actually have adhered to wanting to make sure that their kids do a lot of math foundation work is great. But that's actually not in the current kind of standards right now. So again, another example of teachers living and looking at a difference in my part.
So my only advice to you, Jim, and I'd like to make a motion to approve it, would be they're going to win by, we talked about the rankings in the front of this meeting, right? They get a win by working with us also. So making sure that we get the best of their best, you can ask for that when they staff the team versus the business development arm that sold the project in. Let's try to find that, let's staff that right way so we have a great project, because if we do, then they're going to win also, right? In terms of advertising that they worked with us. So
Thank you.
There is a public comment.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a public comment. So if you could make sure to take a look at the public comment that came in.
But Joe, did you make a motion?
You know, before we go
I
to that,
did, but if you want to look at the comment first.
the other thing is that I noticed, the lawyer me couldn't help but notice that their proposal to you expired August 16th. Have they verbally extended that deadline?
They have.
Okay, thank you. And where is it's not on our spreadsheet, is it?
It just appeared on our spreadsheet.
Refreshing in mind.
You could also go to your email and click on that public comment link that Nairi sent us.
Nairi just, if you check your email, Nairi just sent a
Yeah.
link to it again.
Just having connectivity issues. I have
Yeah, I think our
the
internet
old
might be
one and I
down.
have the current one.
Oh, you did? Okay. Got it now.
Just for point of clarification, hold on.
It's also visible on the agenda item on Simply. It is visible to the public.
Correct. Yeah. My point that I was saying earlier was we are allowed if we wish to, but wasn't sure if we had adopted something that was not on the approved list. Got it.
Has everyone had a chance to read the online public comment?
Yes.
I have, and I'm happy to second Joe's motion.
Okay. So Joe was the first, Josh second. Nairi, can you do roll call, please?
Absolutely. Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thus,
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries,
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes roll
Motion
call.
passes. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Next
Thank
is
you.
G, approve changes to the KIMSA agreement. Wendy.
Thank you. With this item, the governing board is requested to approve the changes to the Confidential Managerial Supervisory and Administrative Association, otherwise known as KIMSA agreement. KIMSA membership includes both certificated and classified employees. The following changes to the agreement have these financial implications, and this mirrors what you approved at the prior meeting for LCTA and CSEA. Effective July 1, 2025, the KIMSA salary schedule will increase by 0.25%. This adjustment results in an ongoing annual cost of $8,744 in salaries and $2,388 in benefits, for a total ongoing cost of $11,132. Additionally, KIMSA employees will receive a one-time off-schedule salary payment equal to 2.05% of their annual salary, totaling $71,698 in salary and $91,283 in total cost. This off-schedule payment is made possible through the generosity of the LCFEF and is comprised of, with the paddle pledge contribution and a gift from the endowment corpus. So it was 0.612 from from last year's gala paddle pledge and 1.438% of the LCFEF endowment corpus. Other negotiated items that do not have significant material Fiscal implications included 3 additional holidays per year that were effective annually beginning on 7/1. The first is the Monday of spring break, unless arrangements are made in advance with the immediate supervisor to substitute an alternate day in spring, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving Day, and an additional holiday tied to winter break. So with that, I would ask that the governing board approve the changes to the KIMSA agreement. Thank you.
Does anyone have any comments? There are no public comments.
I move to approve the amendments to the confidential managerial supervisory and administrative association agreement.
I'll second that.
Nairi, no roll call, please.
Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thus,
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries,
Yes,
Joe Radabaugh.
blank screen. Lost Joe.
Yeah, we've been struggling with his Wi-Fi and maybe ours.
Nairi, do we know what we do in this situation? It is 4.
I can mark him as not present and we can proceed, or we can wait another minute if you'd like to.
What would we like to do? I think we're good and we can proceed, and then he comes on, we can see if he's a yes.
Okay.
Next, we have 25, 26 salary increase.
I was back. Hold on.
Oh, Joe, Nairi's
Yeah,
gonna.
it's a yes. Sorry.
Thank
got
you.
dropped.
All right, motion passes. Next, we have 25, 26 salary increase for cabinet. Wendy.
Thank you. Cabinet members who are contracted employees, their contracts state under item number 3, salary, that the annual increase for each position shall be at the same rate of the increase awarded other district administrators during the school year, if any. For the 2025-2026 school year, commencing 7/1/2025, district administrators shall receive a 0.25% on-schedule increase and a 2.05 off-schedule salary bonus. As such, the following cabinet members shall receive the same increase. The superintendent's cabinet consists of the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, James Cartnell, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations, Melissa Shepard, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Deborah Craddock, and Associate Superintendent of Technology Services, Jamie Lusader. As such, given that it is written into their contract as a Me Too, I would request that the governing board approve the attached salary schedule and off-schedule salary bonus for the contract language provided in each cabinet member's contract.
Thank you. I want to make sure there is a public comment online. Make sure that my board members have read that.
Wendy, can I ask what?
Those are the placements of the various 4 members on cabinet. Because it's a little bit of a step in column, or actually not a column, it's a stepped increase on the schedule. And so people place according to their years of experience in the position.
Has everyone had a chance to read the public comment? If so, is there any discussion? If not, can I get a motion?
I would move to approve. I'd move to approve the much deserved salary increases.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Nairi?
Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thus.
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries.
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next is 12I, superintendent, same percentage salary increase. That's me. As outlined in the addendum to her contract, the superintendent's salary includes a provision for the same percentage salary increase as certificated staff. For the 25-26 school year commencing July 1st, 2025, certificated staff shall receive 0.25% on schedule salary increase and a 2.05% off salary bonus for an annual increase of 2.3%. The superintendent's existing annual salary was increased for the 25-26 school year by 1.5%, leaving a 0.8 differential to be paid as a one-time bonus. This reflects the district's commitment to fairness and consistency while recognizing Wendy's outstanding leadership to LCUSD. Sorry. See here, there are no public comments. If anyone has Any comments or discussion? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent's same percentage salary increase for the 25-26 school year.
Can I get a second?
I would second that well-deserved increase.
Nairi, roll call.
Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thuss.
Yes.
Josh Epstein,
Yes.
Dan Jeffries.
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh.
Pleased to do it for another year. Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have 13A, Board Policy Revision BP 3314.
Yes.
Melissa.
At our meeting on August 12th, we had a first read item BP 3314 for payment for goods and services. At the request of the board, we reviewed the amounts of what we consistently see in the accounts payable department. And so previously it was written as or other reasons within 10%, and there wasn't a specification of dollar amount, and it was brought up if it's a $10 million purchase order, for example, that makes it rather large. So we worked to see what the general one is that we go back and change. And so what we've added here is or other reasons within 10%, but not to exceed $750 per purchase order. So generally that's what we would see the max if it's a tax issue or a freight issue on items. So that was the only change from the last board read a couple weeks ago.
This was, I think, my issue, and I feel very satisfied with the $750 cap. So I'm happy to make a motion unless there's other discussion, but happy to make a motion to approve board policy.
I was surprised that it ended up being that low. I know you went out and looked at all the amounts, but I thought the dollar amount would be a little larger. I mean, I'm even comfortable pushing it to 1,000 and then call it a day. But if 750 does it 95% of the time, that's fine too.
I mean, most of the time we are good. It's just the end of the year generally, because if it's any amount, we try to update the purchase order, even if it's within this limit. But when it's year end, that's when we struggle to try and make all the changes and do all of that while we're closing. So if you guys would like to change the amount, we'd be open to that as well.
I think so, because I think the intent was that this wasn't going to be $100,000, based on a percentage. So to me, with the amount of POs you guys are managing, $1,000 or not, put 999 or something, but whatever you think. I mean,
Josh, are you okay with moving it to?
I'm fine with it. I mean, whatever, I just wanted some level of,
I appreciate that.
some limit on it, and I trust you to tell us what it is. So if it's, within reason, $750 or $1,000 is fine with
It
me.
feels kind of like we had much ado about nothing at the last meeting. I think we thought that you were talking 10% was going to turn out to be $100,000.
No, I would not do that, even if it was policy. That makes me nervous. It needs to go through board approval.
The fact
don't-
that it's
I
that
don't
low.
think it's bad policy to have a number on there,
Right.
instead of a percentage. So I'm happy we did this, even if it is, not necessary for most cases, but I'm fine. Maybe then.
Do we leave the 1%
Should I?
or do you want?
Why don't I make a
1,000?
motion to amend and then approve, to amend the policy to 1,000 instead of 750, and approve the amended policy, board policy BP 3314, payment for goods and services.
Do I have a second?
I second. Give
Nairi?
it to Joe.
Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thuss.
Yes.
Josh Epstein.
Yes.
Dan Jeffries.
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh.
yes.
Motion passes. Next is consent agenda. Can I get someone to make a motion to approve the consent? Oh, wait. Sorry, we have a public comment in consent agenda, so I want to make sure you all read that.
Yes, the public comment was received under item number 14, but it is related to item 13H, gifts to district, and it was shared with the governing board and it's visible to the public.
That was the one we had opportunity to read earlier.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
I will second that.
Nairi?
Yes. Caroline Anderson,
Yes.
Octavia Thuss.
Yes.
Josh Epstein.
Yes.
Dan Jeffries.
Yes.
Joe Radabaugh.
Yes.
Motion passes. Yay. Next is communications, I think. Yes. So let's start with Josh tonight.
I don't have anything. So thanks for all the hard work opening schools, and I'm glad everything's been going so smoothly. And I'm looking forward to getting to that 4,000 number.
Octavia?
I just wanted to say thank you to the folks in the public who've given and made their donation of the parcel tax donation. And they're listed as gifts to the district. So thank you to those from this week and last couple of weeks ago.
For me, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at tailgate. It should be fun. One little item though, I was at the football game on Friday, and middle schoolers are supposed to have parents stay with them the whole time. So please, middle school parents, do not walk your children in and then leave. Thank you. Dan?
I would just like to thank all of our administrators and principals and staff and custodians and everyone else, and especially our teachers for a good start to the school year, to be all prepared, all the work that goes into it. I know we had a lot of teachers who had to spend a lot of their time over the summer moving into new classrooms and preparing it. But even for the teachers who return to the same classrooms, there's always that getting ready, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you to everyone.
Jamie?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Wendy?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Deborah?
Nothing for me. Thanks.
Melissa?
I'll switch it up. So we didn't mention it. I don't think Wendy mentioned it in her report, but this Thursday, August 28th at 5 p.m. will be the official ribbon cutting at PCY for the 2-story building. Carrie sent out an email as well, but back to school night starts at 6 p.m. So we're doing this at 5 p.m., similar to what we did at PCR as well. So those 20 classrooms that we've talked about a lot. So thank you.
Jim?
Just wanted to thank all the teachers. It seems forever ago, but we had a really successful half-day buyback. The teachers collaborating grade levels at the elementary and working in, instructional council and grade level teams at the high school. Super awesome. Shout out to Dr. Gold and Principal Paz and the faculties at 7, 8, and 9, 12. Great back to school nights. Looking forward to the elementaries. Go Spartans, Lions, Panthers, and Cougars.
Thank you, Jim. Nairi?
Yes, our next meeting is going to be September 23rd, which is in a while, but September is a busy month for the board. We will have a facilities master plan meeting, I believe, on September 11th. That is a special board meeting. We have the bond oversight committee meeting on September 18th, and there will also be a joint LCUSD governing board and city council meeting here in the governing board room on the 30th, 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Open session is closed, and we will go back to closed session. Thank you.